Thanks for joining me as I start in Alaska and head through the western United States, Central America, South America, and maybe, if everything goes right, Argentina. So, after spending a couple weeks on the Oaxacan coast, I left the town of Huatulco and headed up into the highlands where there's a town called San Cristobal de las Casas. When I got up into the mountains, of course, the weather changed and I got a little bit of drizzle. And as I reached the peak of the mountain, the clouds started to break a little bit. As I lowered elevation, the sun began to shine again. As I got into another sort of chaotic traffic situation down in San Cristobal. As per usual, when I get about a half a mile from my hotel, it becomes harder to find, and in this case I was stuck in absolute gridlock. Nobody was moving. Some of the other motorcycles that are skinnier could whiz past, but I could not go anywhere. Once I got out of the traffic jam, I was able to follow the one-way streets through a very picturesque downtown. Looks a little bit like San Miguel de Allende, but very beautiful, and eventually found my way to my hotel. My one GPS is always telling me to go every which way at the last minute, and my trusty iPhone got me to where I needed to be. And after riding all the way from Huatulco, I was ready to get off the bike. San Cristobal is a town of about 215,000 people, and it sits up at 7,200 feet of elevation, so it's a lot cooler in the evenings and in the mornings. And that was a welcome break after being in the stifling humidity of the Oaxacan coast. But it's a very picturesque little town surrounded by hills and mountains. And once I had parked that bike, I was ready to walk around and embrace some of the vibrant colors. There's a lot of Baroque architecture. This is the church Santo Domingo. Absolutely lovely. This is the cathedral at evening time. The whole town comes out to these places and just watches life go by. Very beautiful. This woman sold me a scarf, and I told her I didn't need it. I didn't really have a room in my bags, but she said she spent 2 days making it, and she took a photo of me in it, and I was like, well, it actually does look pretty good. There's tons of beautiful churches, like a lot of Mexican towns, lots of stray dogs wandering around, but they're very street savvy. They never run in front of cars. When I did talk to the local women that were of the Chamula indigenous group, there's about 30,000 of them. I would always ask permission. They really don't like it when you take their picture without asking. They're usually the ones in these goatskin black wool skirts. The market was amazing. It just went on and on. You could get just about everything you could imagine there. Dead chickens, we got them, with or without a head. And do you want some dried fish that looks like it's been run over by a steamroller? They got that. I don't know what the heck you do with it. But I did try this one.
So I'm trying the granadilla plant. It's the seeds in the middle that you eat. It looks disgusting. Looks like alien eggs. texture of pomegranates, but a little more citrusy. It's good.
After a few days in the city, I decided to zip out of town in a taxi cab and went to this beautiful place called Arco Tete. A river runs through this sort of archway cliff structure, and there's also some beautiful caves. If you hike up a narrow stairway, it leads into these colorful caves that they have set out. You got to watch your head, though. I bumped my head twice. Absolutely beautiful. After wandering around Arco Tete, I saw a BMW bike out in the parking lot and met Bill from Scotland. My Scottish ear is a little bit worse than my listening to Spanish ear. He was really hard to understand, but a very good-natured fellow. And we decided to go check out the town of Chamula. While the town of San Cristobal de las Casas has 30,000 Chamula people, the town that's actually called Chamula it's 100% Chamula. They have their own laws. They strictly forbid you taking any pictures or videos in their church. If you do, they will confiscate your camera or throw you in jail, or worse, they have their own laws, so you can't call the Mexican police because they have their own jurisdiction. But the church was maybe the strangest church I've ever been. When we walked in, there was no light. It was just lit from candles on the floor with pine needles everywhere, which would occasionally catch on fire. And they did, while we were in there, sacrifice some chickens. They also have Coca-Cola's part of their Mayan/Christian faith, and they believe if you drink a gulp of Coca-Cola and burp, you're expelling bad spirits. The graveyard was even weirder. They had these dead pine boughs, and then there was litter everywhere because you leave snacks for your friend. So if your friend likes Coca-Cola, you put Coca-Cola bottles there for him. Very strange. Here's an example of one of the rooms that I stayed in. Has a couple hammocks upstairs and a veranda to see some of the city, but the hills around. And it goes over a fireplace where they have fires every night. Bill read my book in one night. I couldn't believe it, but I tested him and he knew all the answers. This is Stephen from Malta, and we decided that we were going to ride to the next town together. Malta's an island south of Italy, and it's its own country. We started riding together with these two guys. It became apparent very quickly that they were much faster riders than me, and I had no interest in passing 5 cars on a blind turn on these mountain roads. But I told them, hey, I'll catch up with you, or you guys catch up with me. They were taking a break, and I thought they would join me in another 10 minutes, but I didn't see them for many hours because they stopped for lunch or something. But great guys to ride with, and we finally got to our destination, which was on the way to Palenque, and it's called Rio Azul, and it has these amazing waterfalls, which I'm about to show you. Steven and Bill wanted to keep going to Palenque, so I hung around with the locals and got this little room. They tried to sell me one that didn't have a toilet seat, but that's where I draw the line. Cold showers, but it was good. And then the next day in Palenque, I got to see these amazing ruins. Very cool pyramids. But my favorite part wasn't the flora or the beautiful structures themselves. It was the monkeys. I didn't get great pictures because I only had an iPhone, but it was so cool seeing the howler monkeys. One of them, a female I presume, had a baby on her back. But Palenque has amazing sights to see. The confusing thing was you pay an entrance fee, and then about 50 yards later you pay another entrance fee, and then you get to the buses and you have to pay for those, and I think there was one more fee. So there's a lot of... Well, actually, one guy tried to charge me 100 pesos to do a couple squirts of his bug spray. So you have to say no a lot. Mexico is many things. Parts of Mexico are modern and sophisticated. There are many different people, languages, and income levels. Because I avoided the big cities and I'm on a budget, a lot of what I saw was on the poorer side. Many parts of it are filthy, and often I could smell and taste whatever people were burning in the smoldering trash heaps in the countryside. They don't have trash service in the countryside, and if they did, could they afford $14 a month for somebody to come pick up their trash? So things just run differently here. One thing that was strange is many cities had dangling power lines. Even like San Miguel de Allende would have power lines just hanging in the street that you could easily catch your chin or foot peg of your motorcycle on. People are poor. While I never saw Mexicans begging in the United States, here people will walk up to you even in nice restaurants to ask for change. There is a class system, just like many places in the world. The wealthy Mexicans are often tall, have more Caucasian features, while the shorter indigenous people sell trinkets in the streets for 20 or 50 pesos a day. The things they sell are not usually made in China, but rather made from whatever materials they have around, and are painstakingly made by hand. The color and flavors of Mexico can be almost overwhelming at times, but the taste and sights can be breathtakingly beautiful. While some places are littered, other places are swept with pride daily. The people here sometimes shy away from cameras. Their performances are not for your camera. They don't care about your Instagram follower count. They do this because it's who they are. Coming from a culture that is consumer-driven, profit above all other concerns, like the United States, it's hard to imagine what even reflects our culture anymore. But in Mexico, you can feel the culture with all your senses. The mole tastes of the earth, and people who keep its secret ingredients from generation to generation. I ate crickets, I ate corn that gets full of fungus called huitlacoche, and parts of chickens that get thrown back at home, and most of it was delicious. My eyes saw rainbows of color in each market. The other big impression is that people seem genuinely happy. Families hang out at the Zocalo almost every night of the week. Families seem to do everything together. I get the impression that not everyone here under 30 has been diagnosed with ADHD. The president, Claudia Sheinbaum, a climate scientist with a PhD, just raised the minimum wage 13% from what it used to be and shortened the work week to 40 hours. Sadly, I don't think somebody with those qualifications would be elected in America anytime soon. Mexico is not perfect, but you can see hope in people's eyes and they seem content with what they have, and what they have is truly special. So thanks for watching my video on Mexico. And Mexico is truly special, but eventually you got to say adios. And now I'm in Guatemala, and be sure to watch the next video because I will talk about our very sketchy border crossing. One of the people in our group broke her ankle, and it was a little bit of, well, adventure. So join me for the next one. Talk to you soon.